according to your Wikipedia page, you were a concrete finisher for almost a decade, like overlapping with your pro MMA career.
Yeah.
How did having two jobs affect your ability to train and prepare for fights?
So then I was still training where I live in Omaha, and uh, like for a long time, it's kind of a crazy story. Like when I met my wife, um, they moved really fast. Um, like we were living together after like a month and a half. We got a place together, and then like 2.5 months later, 3 months, into our relationship, she was pregnant. So she was working as a nurse, and she was, worked for the hospital. And at the time, I was only trying to support myself. So my mom was helping me out a lot, and then the little bit of money I was making to fight, I was, kind of supporting myself. So um, then she was the only one that was working for a long time. And then when I made my UFC debut, would have been like 2012, I think. I blew my knee, and that's when I started working. So not quite a decade, but um, I had, I had a baby at the time, and at the time a girlfriend, and I was going to be out for a long time with the knee injury, and so I blew my knee and then got cut. So I was one and done in my first UFC stint, and I just had to work because I knew it was going to be a while if I was even going to make it back at all. So I had, I had a friend at the time that owned a concrete company, and he gave me a job as just a laborer making $10 an hour, $9 an hour, or something like that. And I just worked my way up, and then eventually worked for a bigger company, and I was doing really, really well for myself. And I think that's where I started being really successful. To be honest, I was training in the mornings before work, and then I'd work all day, and then I would, I'd go back and practice after work. So I had really, really long days. But I think those are like when I was working my way back to the UFC while I was still working, it took me eight fights to get back to the UFC. 8 wins over UFC vets, prospects, up and comers, like the toughest guys in the world that weren't in the UFC. So, but I think working gave me that comfortability where I was making really, really good money as a concrete finisher, where, building, $5 million houses and doing all the exterior concrete and all the decorative stuff. So I was making really good money. So I didn't have to win. Like I was fighting because I wanted to, not because I needed to. And there was a point where I was fighting because I just needed to feed my family and make money. And then there for a while, it wasn't about the money anymore. I didn't need it. I was doing pretty well for myself without it, but I was just doing it because I loved it. And I worked all the way until I hit my first bonus in 2016 over Elvis Mutapchik. So after that, I was I was totally done with work, and I was over it at that point.
But during that time, just having a little bit of the pressure off by having that other job and structure was helpful.
Yeah. It was really helpful. Like knowing that win or lose, it didn't matter. My bills were still paid. So there was no stress. I wasn't freaking out about it leading up into the fight. I never even thought about it once. And, then once I was making enough money in the UFC where like, it sounds crazy to talk about it like this, but even if I lose, I still make a shit ton of money. So it's like, there's no stress, I don't stress about, I've never wanted to be rich. I've never cared about being rich or anything like that. I've always wanted to go to the gas station and fill my truck up and not look at how much it costs. Or like the cool thing to me was like the first time when I realized I was really comfortable, like financially, was when I went to the grocery store and we just bought what we needed and not what we could afford. And that, there was this, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second, but there was a time when Michaela was pregnant with our first kid. She was like 8 months pregnant, and we had no money at all. And like, we were so broke. We were so broke that after the baby was born, we had to borrow money from my mom because her paycheck hadn't come yet. So like, was so broke. But we went to this grocery store and we scrounged up all the change that we had. And we go to the grocery store, and like spaghetti, like stuff for spaghetti, super cheap, right? But I was too embarrassed to go in with her, with my girlfriend at the time, who's 8 months pregnant. I was too embarrassed to go in with her to pay for the food and change. So I sat in the car, and I remember like just sitting in the car thinking like, what in the hell am I doing with my life? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you have a baby on the way. Like, you don't even have the balls to walk in there. Like, you're too proud to even walk in there and pay for it with change. And I made the decision then that like, that'll never happen ever.
Yeah. So just not feeling stressed about money.
For
was-
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And again, I don't want to be rich. I've never cared about that. I've never wanted to, like, it's one thing to chase your dream, but at the same time, like, you have to make sure that, like, your family's taken care of while you're doing it.